Judy Schroeder. Welcome. Well, are there still people waiting to come in, Alan?
I don't see. I think everybody's arrived for now.
Okay, then why don't we get started? So, just welcome. Ring the bell in a moment. So, welcome to Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service for June 9th, 2020. I'm Aaron Davis, current club president, and it's just great to see everyone here, including our special guests. So I will now introduce Raj Hadawi to lead the Pledge of Allegiance and provide us with a reflection. Raj.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's all. Thank you.
Well, to those who does not know me, since I am out of the Rotary Club of Bloomington for the last 6 years about, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Raj Hadawi. I lived in Bloomington for 43 years. Started in 1972. I started working in the medical field, and during that period of time, 33 years as a surgeon and 10 years as a volunteer doctor. I joined the Rotary Club the last 3 years before I departed in 2015 to a warmer climate in the South. I live around Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with my wife of 51 years, as well as my son. My daughter, the second child I have, she lives with her family outside Boston. I start the reflections as Aaron asked me if I could say a few words about diversity. Well, I gather my thoughts, my experience of years of living in the medical field, and what I saw. I would like to share with you a few points. I will start with a quotation from the late Robert F. Kennedy. When he was asked about diversity, his answer was, if you will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be the history of this generation. Couldn't ask better. Then I came to my thought, what am I getting from the diversity? And amazingly, how rich and wealthy environment and a culture any of us could learn from it. I learned it gave me the ability to work with other races, ethnicity, youth, gender, sexual orientation, low socioeconomic folks. It gives us a greater awareness of who the people whom live between us and we live between them, but there is a distant and artificially made distance that we have no access to them, they have no access to us. The diversity will bring that awareness of understanding, accepting people with different beliefs and with different culture. it brings a challenge to who we are in our custom. We lived in it, accepted it, and we don't know a better world somewhere outside as well. It let us work together. And I will add something to our Bloomington Club, which I am very delighted that I'm joining, is unique in its thinking, reaching out, and committing. Respect in the community is a major, and it does not hurt us to have a bit notch higher when that comes to include the enlargement of our diversity of members. I tell you, I'm very grateful to you, Aaron, as well as my friend Jim Bright, for facilitating me to come and join you as a member. It is my honor to join you at any time from now on, as long as you keep me connected. And at the end, I have this statement going to read to you, a quotation from no less than the late Maya Angelou. When she spoke about diversity, you know what she said? It's mind-boggling, the ability and literacy of this lady, which we all miss her. She said, we all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry. And we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter what their color is. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, I'd like to acknowledge today's greeters, Jim Bright, Michael Shermis, Ashley Sullivan, and Katie Beck. And I guess I hogged most of the greeting, but hey, that was my privilege. And producers, Alan Barker and Michael Shermis. Roundabout reporter for the first 4 meetings of June is Bob Salzberg. And then thanks to Alan especially for the generous use of his Zoom account and his expertise. Now we'll start introducing the guests, some of whom you may have slipped in unnoticed. But Jim Bright, who would you like to recognize?
Thank you, Aaron. First of all, I want to thank you, Raj, for that wonderful reflection following last week's wonderful reflection by Jim Sims on diversity. You've touched all of our hearts. Thank you so much. And it's good to have you with us, Raj. Also, we want to recognize and welcome today Betty Dunham. Betty is past district governor from New Albany, and she is our executive administrator for the district. A lot going on in the district this week, and if we have time, Aaron, we might want to circle back to Betty a little later to talk about some of those things. We have with us today Carolyn Fry, a longtime member of the North Vernon Rotary Club, now Bloomington Sunrise. Welcome, Carolyn. Also, we have a special guest and a good friend of ours, Dr. Whitney Cordoba, who is from Columbia, Fulbright scholar, and now working at Centerstone. So welcome, Whitney. Are there any other guests, Rotarians, who I've missed? If not, I'll turn it back to you, Aaron. Thank you so much.
Okay, Whitney, I would like to ask how you're doing. If you can unmute. Okay, well, maybe we'll catch you later. In the meantime, I see other people here that haven't been introduced or greeted, rather. Megan Thompson and Rex Hillary. So, Ashley and Owen and Katie, is there anyone else that we haven't greeted or welcomed?
I don't see any additional guests besides our wonderful speaker.
Yeah. Okay. And
Covered it, Aaron. Good job.
okay. Thanks. And so greetings to everyone who's here. All 50 plus people, a couple of accounts have a couple of devices have more than one person. And so whether you're here with a microphone or without, with a video or not, we welcome you. Your engagement is deeply appreciated. So I'd like to look at the Rotary family. Birthdays this week. C.M. Morrison, Chris Michael, June 10th birthday, and Steve Engel, June 11th. And then Jeff McKim, June 11th. Membership anniversaries, we have two. Marty Donnelly, 15 years, with 8 years in our club. And Hank Heichema is here for his club anniversary, 8 years. And then from last week, carrying over, I want to note that Ron Jensen, who had a club anniversary last week, is a past president of our club. Speaking which, on June 17th, we're going to be honoring an old tradition in our club. Past presidents will gather to welcome Ashley Sullivan to her position as the new club president. It'll be a Zoom meeting, of course. So just want you to know that that tradition is going on. Special thanks to all of our fellow Rotarians who are pursuing service above self as candidates for elected public office. Shelley Yoder, Trent Decker, Jeff McKim, and of course our current Councilman Jim Sims. And thanks to all of those who volunteered as poll workers, and to Hal Turner for serving as president of the Board of Elections. So Rotarians in the news, check the roundabout, but I want to mention that Saturday's HT included a photo of member Jim Capshew standing in front of his solid brick wall. Very, very appealing. A well done wall. But another Jim and another wall. Councilman Jim Sims was one of the featured speakings at the huge Enough is Enough Bloomington protest against police brutality and racial discrimination. The visible and invisible walls of racism are hopefully crumbling. Now I'd like to introduce Trent Deckard for a brief treat. Trent?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Fellow Toastmasters. You can
That's
tell
okay. Rotary has a partnership with Toastmasters.
I don't get out much. Holy moly. Thank you very much, Aaron. The Bloomington Rotary Club, of course, is very excited to welcome back Dr. Raj Hadawi. On behalf of the membership committee, this is one of the most exciting things that we get to celebrate. And of course, many of you know, and many others who are guests know that he was a vital member of this Rotary community, not so long ago, but long enough that we have missed him very much. And in this greater Bloomington community, such a vital part. The opportunity to reconnect with him via Zoom in the midst of the awful of a pandemic, which has led to him rejoining us as a virtual member or a member that meets with us virtually, is absolutely awesome. For so many in this community, Dr. Hadawi was a very trusted surgeon to them. And personally, as many of you know, I'm a townie that grew up here. I can't tell you the number of conversations I overheard where someone said, "How was your procedure?" And they said, "Oh, I'm fine. I had Dr. Hadawi." And what a testament to that. But not only as a healer do we really salute him, we also salute his work after retirement. In fact, I don't know if he recalls, but I met him when I was a much younger congressional aide, and he was spearheading the effort to bring VIM, Volunteers in Medicine, to our community. And as you all know, Volunteers in Medicine not only took off from that work, but has now spun into to something even larger with HealthNet, serving both serving dentistry and medical services. This, as you know, when we read the Rotary induction ceremony, the things that Rotarians do to influence the community with service above self is very much resonating in the legacy that Raj has left for all of us. And so it is on behalf of the membership committee and the members and the board of this Rotary organization, we are so delighted to welcome you back into our club and to have you come home with us once again. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Welcome, Raj, and thank you, Trent. It's a great day. We're really happy. Rotary action updates, check with the roundabout for details, but I want to thank everyone who submitted comments on the plan for restructured dues and meals. We've compiled some comments and I'm going to send something out to everyone today.
Ashley.
Our celebrations of service have included over 50 to over 80 people. We can hold more. Please keep encouraging people to come as guests, as visitors, and members that you haven't seen here for a while. Join us at our next Rotary Zoom Cafe on Thursday evening from 7 to 8 as usual. And please don't miss our upcoming club forum next week, June 16th. Ashley will give you more information at the close of our meeting. I'll be giving recognition for one of the members' vocational services to our club. So this is an time of celebration and transition. The big event will be July 7th, our changeover, when Ashley becomes president. And at that time, I'll also announce the Service Above Self Award recipient. Please check this morning's email from Jim Bright inviting everyone to attend the District 6580 celebration and annual meeting. It's going to be interesting. It's the culmination of this year for Santana Naidu, and Mark Maloney, president of Rotary International, is going to join us from home to deliver a special address. And just one more thing, if you cannot attend one of our virtual meetings, thanks to Alan Barker, YouTube can deliver a recording to you. Is that right? Just go to our club's channel and I'll have the link in the roundabout and click on subscribe. So Alan, is that what happens when you
That's
subscribe?
exactly right. Yep. And I will be, I'll include a link in the chat as well if people want to just click on that to subscribe during the meeting.
Great. And if we get up to 100 subscribers, then we have a special URL. It will be fancy.
Yep.
Happy dollars. Members and guests and friends, what are you happy about? Please send happy dollars that you've accumulated during this, over 3 months now, to Teachers Warehouse.
I'm happy because 50 years ago today, June the 9th, I graduated from medical school.
Wow, congratulations, Phil. So who's next?
This is Leslie. We'll be speaking about trails later today, but I want to give $2 happy dollars to the 2 trails I'll do later this week. The Tecumseh Trail, or those at Morgan Monroe State Forest, and the Knobstone Trail.
Happy trails to you.
Absolutely.
Aaron, this is Jim. I am happy to pass along news that the movie Just Mercy is, you can stream it now for free on YouTube and other streaming services during the month of June. And this news comes from my wife and roommate, Ann Bright. So
Thank you, Ann and Jim. That's a great movie.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Ann.
I'm always looking over his shoulder. It's a wonderful book. Too much to say, but I would recommend everybody take advantage of the fact that Warner Brothers is allowing it to be streamed over Amazon, YouTube. It's a must see, I think, for everyone this month.
Thank you. More happy dollars. So speak up, because I can't always see somebody raising their hand.
Aaron?
Yes.
Hi, I know my speaker's bad and I'm sorry. I'll give a happy dollar, but I really was just wanting to send out a prayer request for CM Morrison's family. I saw on Facebook that his child is having surgery and it looks really scary, and I just thought the more of us that are praying, the better.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This is Glenda. I would just congratulate all who participated in the Enough is Enough March on Friday. It was peaceful, it was huge, it was important for our community to move forward. Thank you all.
At the risk of jinxing it, I would like to give some 10 happy dollars in honor of the activities that have broken out across the world, and hope that they come to a really fine resolution where we really do improve our police protection and the involvement of diversity. I hope that works. So this is a hope, this is a wish. Okay.
Thank you. And I don't think I recognized before Hal Turner. Well, I did, but Amy Osajima and Joy Harder are here. Welcome to everybody. And Sarah, I don't remember, Sarah Laughlin, whether I mentioned your name, but you've helped me so much this year, one of the many people. I really appreciate that. So if there's no other happy dollars, let's move on. And Leslie Green, past president, will introduce our special speaker.
Hello, everybody. Amy and I set this training or this program up quite a while back, maybe back in, I don't know, August or September of last year. And how things have changed since then. But one thing that has happened is I think trails have become even more important to citizens as we've realized and been encouraged to get out and do things on trails when we perhaps couldn't go to other places. And I certainly have seen an increase in the use of trails. Some of that very positive and some of it not so positive, but on the whole, I think it's really been great that people can get out and enjoy the outdoors more and recognize that. So we're very happy to have Amy with us today, and I will read you her bio here. As the Trails Section Chief of DNR's Division of Outdoor Recreation, Amy Marsalovich serves as Indiana State's Trail Administrator and the Next Level Trails Program Co-Director. She sat on the Indiana Bicycle Trails Task Force and administers the Indiana Trails Advisory Board. She, along with her staff, recently authored the 2021 Indiana Trails Plan as part of the Indiana State Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. Amy has been with DNR for 8 years. She received her bachelor's from Syracuse University and her master's from Ball State University. Amy lives in Indianapolis and is an avid trail user herself. She enjoys cycling, mountain biking, and running. So please join me in welcoming Amy to our club today.
Thank you. Can you guys all hear me now? I'm unmuted. Wonderful. So I'm going to try to share my screen and let me know if you can see it. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
All right, let me try one more thing real quick. Sure.
There we go.
Awesome, great. Well, thank you for having me. Even joining virtually here, I guess in Bloomington. I'll say the last time I was at Bloomington, I will give special kudos to Bloomington Parks and Rec for hosting us our last Trails Advisory Board in early March. So just before this COVID-19 health pandemic hit, we were hosted at Switchyard Park, right off the Beeline in downtown Bloomington. So if you haven't been able to check out that park, it's an amazing facility. So kudos to Dave Williams and the Parks Department for hosting us, and then Pat Martin with your city's transportation department that's on our Trails Advisory Board as well. So like I said, you guys have a wonderful amount of amenities in Bloomington. So I'm going to back up and talk a little bit about Indiana's trail system and how it's grown, particularly over the last 20 years. And then particularly talk about a new initiative that we have called the Next Level Trails Program, and 2 projects that are going to be in the Bloomington area that you might want to check out this year or in the coming years. So Indiana has always had trails. Most of our trails were traditionally natural surface trails. Once the rail banking laws came in, we started to see more paved trails and rail banking starting in probably the 90s here in Indiana. And trails really started taking off about 2006 under, at that time, Governor Mitch Daniels. So back in 2006, we had about 1,500 or so trails that we knew of in Indiana. We did a trail inventory. We put out our first state trails plan. So we started tracking how many trails there were and how many were being built. I'm happy to report since then, we are now at over 4,000 miles of trail here in Indiana. That includes all types of public trail, so federal properties, state, local, and nonprofit trails. It also includes everything from hiking, biking, walking, mountain biking, equestrian trails, off-road vehicles, and snowmobile. So yes, Indiana has snowmobile trails if you did not know that. So we have a variety of different trail uses in the state of Indiana. And then just following up a little bit more on that state trails plan, in 2006, we had a number of goals that came out of that. We continue to update that state trails plan every 5 years. And then the trail inventory, which was started off in 2006, and like I said, has 4,000 miles of trail. We actually have a convenient interactive map on our website called the Indiana Trail Finder. So if you're in your hometown or any corner of the state and are looking to find a trail to walk with a friend or family or your dog, or take a bike ride, check out that. It's again called the Indiana Trail Finder, and you can locate trails and it will tell you who manages them, how long they are, has a GPS file of them. So a really good resource in case you're interested in getting out on the trails a little bit more. In that 2006 Indiana State Trails Plan, we had a goal of having a trail within 5 miles of every Hoosier. So we originally started off with that goal, and that goal was started off at about 70% complete. Today we're at 96.2%. So we've created a lot more trails and a lot more access here in Indiana. So a lot more people can get out and enjoy because they have a trail close to their home. So that's one of the major progress points that we made, again, setting that goal in 2006 and working towards it over the last couple of years. The other major goal that we have that we've been working with, again, our partners at the federal, state, local, and nonprofit level, was to create a visionary trail system. This is an interconnected network of trails that connects across the state of Indiana, mostly bike and pedestrian trails, but some long distance natural surface trails as well. You can see on the map on your screen to the left, the green lines are the primary or visionary trail system, and the blue lines are I guess that secondary system. We often call it the potential visionary. The only difference between those is the primary or the visionary trail system has a little bit more higher feasibility higher feasibility of being achieved, as far as there's maybe more abandoned corridor, there might be more groups working on projects along those routes. The potential has some of that, but not as much as the visionary. So as you can see, we started that goal. And again, so it had 1,000 miles of visionary system to be built out, and a little over 1,100 miles in the potential visionary. So happy to report that we've improved to 45% on the visionary network and 15% on the potential visionary. So you can see it connects a lot of communities as well as trail systems throughout the state. So we made a lot of progress in the last couple of years, and one of the progress points that we made was back in about 2008 during the first recession that well, not the first, but during the last recession that we went through. Governor Daniels was able to help get some trail funding in the state of Indiana. So that was our first state trail funds. We were able to fund a lot of trails throughout the state of Indiana. If you are familiar with our trail system, that included things like the Cardinal Greenway, the Nickel Plate Trail that runs through Kokomo, Peru, and Rochester, and even in your community, the Beeline Trail was a recipient of grant awards through our office and the State Trails Program funding. If you don't know this already, Governor Holcomb was part of the Mitch Daniels administration back in the mid-2000s, and he is a fan of trails. And so back in 2018, we were looking for a way to kind of expand our trail program, in particular looking on connecting major trail systems, cities, communities, counties, and then also amenities and attractions within our community. So local parks, schools, neighborhoods, those kind of things, making sure we connected those in our neighborhoods. So what we ended up developing was the Next Level Trails program, which at the time it was rolled out was a $90 million grant program to go to state and nonprofit organizations for trail development. So that was the largest infusion of state funding in history. So that was a pretty big vision. So here's a quote from Governor Holcomb. I just want to point out there's two kind of things in this quote, that he's focusing on connectivity and quality of life, and as well as collaboration. So what we had been seeing in Indiana as trails were developing were that a lot of communities were developing trails and stopping at the town line. And there's really not a whole lot of collaborating between sections of town or different cities or municipalities or counties. And there was also not a whole lot of partners in the trail communities. A lot of our nonprofits did all right with this, but a lot of our municipalities that struggle with a small park budget or a small public works budget were not getting their trail projects done as fast as they'd like to because of funding. So that's the other thing that the program really focuses on, is collaboration between communities and also collaboration with private partners. So we've had a number of private partners, whether that's a community foundation, whether that's a hospital group or a local business, really helping with our Next Level Trails program and helping applicants make their match. So just want to go over a really brief overview of what the Next Level Trails program is. Again, it was launched in December of 2018. We ended up taking our first round of applications by February 15th, 2019. So applicants can be either a local unit of government or a nonprofit. Any non-motorized trail is eligible. It can be any surface type, so natural surface, crushed stone, pavement, those kind of things. Eligible costs, they have to include trail construction, but it could include upgrading a surface type, such as maybe a crushed stone moving up to a paved trail. It can also include land acquisition, design and engineering, and basic trail amenities such as bike racks, benches, trailheads, those kind of things. The timeline for the program is applicants have a maximum of 4 years to complete a project, although we prefer accelerated timelines, and I'm happy to say we've had some very accelerated timelines in our first round, and I'll get to that in a second. And then lastly, we have a 20% match requirement. We're very, very flexible in what we consider as match. It's not just necessarily cash. You can also use land value for land that you own or control, donated labor and materials. Again, that helps with those partners. And then value of some previously completed work, such as maybe clearing the corridor or having your design and engineering already done. We also have a consideration for overmatch. So we want to encourage applicants to only ask for funding that they really need to complete the project so that we can spread the wealth a little bit more across the state of Indiana. The last thing I'll kind of note on this slide is just that the program is state funded. That has allowed us to design the program from the ground up. We listened to stakeholders and asked them what they liked about current programs, what they liked about past programs, what their problems were, what they really wanted to see in a grant program. Two of the things that we were able to include reflecting that is upfront funding. This is not a reimbursement program, so that's really, really nice for especially nonprofits, but also smaller communities that don't have to get reimbursed later. The other thing is there's less kind of red tape. With a lot of the federal programs, there is a lot of specific ways of how to buy land, how to go through environmental processes. There's still some of those things with state funding, but not as much. So that really allows us to accelerate projects and get them on the ground more and get more use out of them. So again, the program was originally designed as a $90 million program with 3 rounds. I'm going to focus mostly on the first round, which is $25 million. But the second round was 30, and then the last round was about $35 million. We were in process of the second round when COVID-19 hit and kind of a lot of economic uncertainty. So both round 2 and round 3 have been placed on hold for the moment. So again, I'll just cover some of the round 1 highlights for you guys. So with round 1, we had 25 million available. That include $20 million in what we call regionally significant projects. That includes projects that really mostly kind of are large landscape projects, maybe connecting communities, maybe connecting counties, a little bit larger scale. And they had a $5 million cap to apply for, which was the most any Indiana project has ever been able to apply for. So that was really wonderful to see. The locally significant projects focused a little bit more on connecting amenities within communities, such as schools, parks, neighborhoods, commercial centers, those kind of things, a little bit more focused on quality of life and transportation, as opposed to maybe the regionally significant projects that were more focused on enthusiast or tourism type users as well. And again, the locally significant project had a $2 million cap. Previously in Indiana, our only grant program funding limited out at $250,000. So what we were seeing is a lot of people applying for funds could only do very small sections of projects. So they weren't really too ambitious. And again, federal restrictions on that money or strings attached to that money also ate up into that budget a little bit more. So we were seeing a lot of projects that could only maybe do a half mile to 3/4 of a mile with $250,000. With the higher caps, we're seeing pretty ambitious projects. We've seen projects up to 9 miles or so here with this program. So definitely encouraging to see that. And then again, a lot of the projects, it's their whole project that can get funded rather than smaller bite-sized chunks that they have to work at year after year after year. So definitely an economy and efficiency aspect. So when we announced the round 1 program in December, they had had only a few months to turn around applications. So we got applications at February 15th, but we received a huge amount of interest in the program, 82 different applications, and that was from proposals in 42 counties. As you can see on the map, the yellow is the existing trail system in Indiana, and the blue is all of the different trail projects that we received in that first round. That included 40 regional applications and 42 local for over 242 miles of trail proposed and nearly $144 million in grant requests. Again, only $25 million was available and $90 million for the whole program. So what we encountered was just a huge demand for trails, and this program really showcased that throughout the state. So after our staff reviews the applications and then it is rated by a interagency rating committee, then we rolled out the round 1 awardees, and they were announced by Governor Holcomb in Speedway in May of 2019. And on the left there, you can see all of the projects that were selected in the first round. There were 17 projects, so they were throughout the entire state. The white color denotes local projects, and the yellow color denotes regional projects that were awarded. So that ended up again being, I think, $24.9 something million that was awarded. And just that one round was the largest trail funding in Indiana state history at one time. So a little bit more statistics on that first round. Of the 17 projects, 10 were regionally significant projects and 7 were local. More than 42 miles of trail were going to be developed in 17 different counties in Indiana. And then of the $24.9 million of funds awarded, the match provided by the different applicants of those 17 applicants was a $12.5 million value. So it's a total investment of $37.4 million invested in trails, starting back in 2019 and coming up to about 2023, I think is the last project that will be done. You can find a whole list of the projects there at our website of which ones are awarded. But I just wanted to cover 2 briefly that will be in your area. So the first one, it was a local project, and it is the Brown County Mountain Bike Trail. It was applied for by Hoosier Mountain Bike Association. If you are familiar with Brown County State Park, the map over on your left-hand side, and the green shows the existing trail system, and then the blue, red, and yellow shows 7.5 miles of trail that Hoosier Mountain Bike Association will use their $200,000 grant to build. They've currently already completed the red trail. They finished that. You can see the picture on the right is of the ribbon cutting that we had for the Weed Patch Trail back in November. They're currently working on the yellow trail, which is the Lime Kiln Return Trail. And then in 2021, that summer, they'll be working on Hesitation Point East. So that will link to the Hesitation Point trailhead if you are, again, familiar with Brown County State Park. They are mountain bike trails as far as they're designed for mountain bike traffic, but they are open for hikers and trail runners, and we see them both frequently on the trails. In particular, the trail that was just opened, Weed Patch, is a great hike if you are interested in yellowwood trees. So if you'd like to see some yellowwood trees pretty up close and personal, the Weed Patch Trail, which is named after Weed Patch Hill, one of the higher points in Brown County State Park, is a great place to go for that. So, and then again, partnering with that trail is the DNR and the state parks, but then also have a trail design company that's helping to construct, again, mountain bike specific trail. And then a lot of the labor and material and funds are being donated by the applicant, which is Hoosier Mountain Bike Association. If you are avid cyclist in Bloomington, you might be familiar with Bloomington Bicycle Club. Bloomington Bicycle Club also has a really great relationship and a partnership with Hoosier Mountain Bike Association. They share a lot of same members and volunteers. The other trail that we have is in your home county of Monroe County. That the Karst Farm Greenway was awarded a $2.3 million grant, and that's going to complete a 2.7 mile trail. If you're familiar from within the town of Bloomington and Monroe County, if you can see, can you guys see my mouse on your screen? Okay. So this trail down here is where the current Karst Farm Greenway is. The red line here is extending the trail all the way to Ellettsville here. So the trail will literally connect the town of Bloomington and, you know, just outside in Monroe County, all the way to the town of Ellettsville to complete that trail system. That project, I think, is scheduled to be done in 2022, so late summer of 2022. And as you can see from the pictures, it is on an abandoned rail corridor. If some of you have been in Bloomington for a long time, you may be familiar with this rail line, as well as the B line. And again, also another project for funding with our recreational trails program is the Limestone Greenway. So if you're familiar with Bloomington from a long time ago and have been an area resident for a while, you might recognize these rail corridors in the community. And once the railroads have left, now we're making way for trails to be a little bit healthier, to provide outdoor exercise. This trail will be a bike ped trail, so available for hiking, running, walking, dog walking, strollers, that kind of thing. So, and I just want to follow up real quick on what Leslie had said. Since COVID-19 has happened, we have seen a huge increase on our state trails across the state. So we are recently doing some analysis with partners that have trail counters, including the city of Bloomington, on their trail system. So they voluntarily give that information to us. And we kind of analyze it on a statewide picture. And so for the month of March, when COVID-19 really started and the state instituted stay-at-home orders, we saw that trails went up 108%, so over double trail usage went up across the state. And again, we had trail counters on everything from trails in Fort Wayne and Northwest Indiana, Carmel, all the way down to the Ohio River and the Big Four Bridge in Jeffersonville, and some communities along the Ohio River, as well as our Division of Forestry has trails on the Tecumseh and the Knobstone and several of their trails. So Leslie will get counted when she goes and does those backpacking trips. So 108% for the month of March, and then April, which is already a very high month in general for the state as it starts to get nicer, was up 48%. So really great to see a lot more people using the trails. And those are just, like I said, the ones that we have counters for. So that's 67 counters. So a lot more people are getting outside. And as the COVID-19 is really been multiple months, we're hoping that a lot more people are developing what we call healthy habits. The more that they get out and hike and walk and bike, and they do so weekly, they're probably going to continue for the rest of the season, or maybe the rest more years to come, and really help make our Hoosiers healthier. So I guess I turn it over to questions, or is there anything, Leslie, that you wanted me to discuss that I didn't discuss?
Sounds really great, Amy. Of course, this makes my heart pitter patter, but I'm sure there may be some questions, and we do have some time.
Right, okay. And Amy, thank you for the excellent presentation. Our club will make a donation in your honor, in honor of this presentation, to Centerstone, our quarterly recipient. And so, questions or comments?
I have a comment, which is historical. This is Martha Wales. We came to Bloomington in the late 1960s and started hiking around in the area, and the trails were marked one way. And if you've ever tried to go backwards on a trail that is marked to take you the other direction, particularly in an area like this where there are deer trails, there are old logging roads, there are old other roads, it was just bizarre. And so we were so glad when they started marking the trail, so you could mark it, you could go from one end to the other and the other end to the beginning. It was a very strange kind of situation.
Yeah, the one-way trails work a little bit better when they're loop trails and they go back to the same spot. We actually have seen kind of a resurgence of one-way trails in some communities for COVID-19. So I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, where Cuyahoga Valley National Park is. And because they were getting so much use from COVID-19, they made a lot of their loop trails one way so that you actually pass people less. So that was kind of an interesting trend to see.
Yeah, but it was different when you were out in the woods.
Yeah, or when, again, they're not one way.
Amy, I just wanted to thank you and the our Indiana leadership team for your commitment to the trails. They are a real treasure, and my wife Ann and I have discovered even more so during COVID-19 how special it is and how it can help clear the cobwebs to get out. But I just wanted to remind everybody here on the Zoom call today that the Beeline Trail and Switchyard Park, that our club, together with the other two clubs here in Bloomington, committed the funds for 300 trees to be planted. I think 200 of them in Switchyard Park and along the Beeline Trail. So I hope that all of you, as we do, whenever we walk or bicycle on the Beeline Trail, you'll think a little bit about Rotary and our commitment to joining you on this project. Amy, thank you.
Could I ask if any of the trails are accessible to people who have trouble moving around?
Yep, almost every single one. All of the trails are ADA accessible except for those mountain bike trails. Those are the only ones that are not. So all of them are paved and will be ADA. Most of them, not all of them, but most trails are on rail corridors. So that usually helps with grade. Grades aren't really much more than 5%. So they should actually probably be less than that in most places.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Yep, and all of our projects that include trailheads have to have accessible, if they have parking lots, accessible parking lots, as well as restrooms.
Amy, I'd like to ask how you work with other organizations, for example, like Sycamore Land Trust or Nature Conservancy.
Yeah, we work with a variety of partners. So they could be municipalities like Monroe County or the city of Bloomington, or they could be nonprofits. So we work with nonprofits similar that are trail organizations like Cardinal Greenway in Muncie. We work with some that are landholding, such as Nature Conservancies for hiking or paddling projects. We actually have partnered a lot in the past for river access and putting in access points for water trails or people paddling. The way that we mostly partner is probably through two ways. One is helping with technical assistance and planning through our office. So if those groups have projects, they can come to our office, and we are kind of a clearinghouse of information on trails. So help them get connected with resources, let them know the latest and greatest best practices, that kind of thing. And then we also administer several grants. So we administer the Next Level Trails program, the Recreational Trails program, the Land and Water Conservation Fund is done through our office. And so we are able to partner with all those kind of groups on projects like that.
Okay, Amy, you'll be back. We're going to close the meeting, just take 3 minutes, and then you'll be here for more questions, right?
I will be.
Excellent. Okay, so now President-elect, soon to be President rather, Ashley Sullivan will announce our next celebration of service.
Thanks, Aaron. Our next celebration of service will be June 16th, right here on Zoom. We'll have a reflection from past District Governor Sue Wright, and we'll be thanking one member for their vocational service. The Service Above Self Award will come on July 7th. Then we'll have a club forum, gathering in smaller groups with Zoom breakout rooms. You'll get to participate in 2 out of the 3 groups lasting 12 minutes each: the pandemic and you, racial justice, and social connections.
So Michael Shermis will send out a poll to everybody by email, asking which groups you are interested in participating in. So it should be an interesting little experiment with, connection. My thought of the week is about the 8 pillars of positive peace. Those were developed by the Institute for Economics and Peace, in partnership with Rotary International. And I think they'll sound familiar. So what is it that makes for a peaceful society? Number one, well-functioning government. 2, sound business environment. 3, equitable distribution of resources. 4, free flow of information. 5, acceptance of the rights of others. 6, good relations with neighbors. 7, high levels of human capital. And 8, low levels of corruption. Sounds like every Rotarian's dream, right? So I want to thank you all, and now join me in reciting the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do, first,
is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? 3,
Third,
will it build goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships?
4,
4,
will be
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And 5,
is it fun?
Okay.
Hey, congratulations, everybody. It was great.
That was fun.
For Amy.
Okay, any more questions or comments to Amy?
Amy, I do have a question. I wondered when the dunes became a national park, how did that affect any kind of trail management or park management that you and your colleagues had?
Dunes, when it became a national park, it still was separated from the state park. So it was just the National Lakeshore that became a national park system. And the state park was still a state park, so it's not part of the national designation. The national park actually has over 50 miles of trail in there. If you're really into biodiversity, I would highly recommend the Miller Woods Trail out of the Douglas Center. But they have all kinds of trails there, and they continue at the Park Service to have a really good, close relationship with the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission, who does a lot, especially with their bike pedestrian trails that go through a variety of different communities in the Lakeshore, including Portage, Burns Harbor, Hammond, those communities, Gary as well, on a larger project called the Marquette Greenway. So they have been closely partners, and the new national designation has not changed that.
Right.
I have a question. I'm interested in the difference between the vision. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I couldn't tell. I'm interested in the difference between the visionary, the open visionary trails and the potential visionary trails. And when you look at the map, there are all these different little gaps, and I'm sure you want to get those filled in. I'm just interested in what the barriers are or what the issues are in getting those gaps filled in. I'm sure there are a wide diversity, but it would be interesting just if a person were thinking about wanting to be part of a grant application or something.
Yeah. So the biggest, well, there's probably 2 big hurdles for most of the, I guess, the planned projects. One tends to be funding, which hopefully Next Level Trails definitely helps out with. And the other one happens to be land acquisition. So usually the visionary system compared to the potential visionary may have a little bit more feasibility with that land acquisition. They may have a rail corridor that's been identified and secured or partially secured. They may have kind of right away along a roadside or maybe along a river that's a little bit more secure. With the potential visionary, a lot of times they may have a rail corridor that they're thinking about, but it might have some private ownership and is a little bit harder to piece together. They might have to, do a little bit more land acquisition. And then another component for definitely the change between the visionary and the potential visionary is kind of the amount of planning and the amount of stakeholders working on those sections. So some of them have been planned throughout the years, and some of them are kind of, there's interest, but not as much backing on that. And one of the things you might see in that map, if you look kind of carefully, you'll see a lot of the metropolitan planning organizations around the state or the larger metro areas have some visionary systems or potential visionaries, and having that MPO in the communities is really helpful to providing that kind of planning and guidance to locals working on those projects.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Jim Bright.
Yeah, Amy, you had mentioned, I think it was called Indiana Trail Finder resource. Is that an app? Where can you find that? Is that available through Apple, or how do you find it?
I can send it to you in the comments. Will that work?
It will. Thank you.
It's an interactive map, so you can use it on your it's anything with a web browser, so phone, tablet, or desktop computer. And like I said, it's just an interactive map. You can search, you can zoom in, zoom out, click on things, that kind of stuff. So it uses ArcGIS Online if you're familiar with that platform.
Awesome.
Okay.
So you're going to send that to me through the chat feature, right?
I'll do that right now.
Okay, and Jim, could you make sure that that gets forwarded to Bob Zaltzberg?
I will.
For the roundabout.
I will.
Okay, Whitney, you're still here.
I have one more question. I was giving her a chance to.
Okay,
Yeah.
Leslie.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, so where are we at with the connector trail, which I think is called the Pioneer Trail between the Tecumseh and the Knobstone?
So I think that trail is being led in an effort by the Knobstone Hiking Trail Association,
Right.
Which kind of split off because it's a little different focus from Hoosier Hikers Council, which is another one of our volunteer groups. I think that they have a little bit of an extension that they're looking to do on Division of Forestry property, which will take a little money, and the biggest issue is a bridge, but that will only be, I think, I don't know exactly the mileage, but I think it's only a couple of miles extension. The rest, I know that they are working on a combination of easements from private landowners to get some of that land secured, and then kind of working with partners such as the Division of Forestry and Hoosier National Forest on that route planning. So they've still been working on that. If you're a backpacker that really wants to do it, I'm sure it's just not soon enough, but they have been working on it. So
that's great.
Was there anyone else? Okay, I do want to note that Joe King is here and very welcomed, and John Beretta was here, and Wendell St. John was here too. So it's great to see people. Great to see you all. And
thank you so much, Amy.
All. Thank you, Amy, for, this is really important, and you could see how engaged the club is on the trails issue. So thank you all, and have a great day.